it's Peter from the Kia Hyundai channel. Welcome to our live video series. This is the 2022 Kia Soul EV, or e-Soul compared to some markets, and the 2022 Kia Niro EV, or e-Niro. And we're comparing these together today because it might be one of the last times we compare them for a while, and we have this in the context of the EV6 coming out, so we'll have a recent video to compare to the EV6, which will be here this month, we're told. And we also know that we're going to get the Ioniq 5 Ultimate Edition, the top trim, all-wheel drive. That is also going to show up in the next week or so, probably this month. So lots of EV content coming out. And if you want to know more about EVs, specifically the Ioniq 5 or the Kia EV6, hit the subscribe button. Obviously with these vehicles, hit the subscribe button as well. We have a lot of EV content coming up in the next couple weeks. So if you subscribe, you'll make sure that you're the first to see some of that. And I have a lot of things I want to do with both those cars. The EV6 in particular, I'm going to have a lot of access to. I'm going to be able to take it out, spend some time with it, really answer your questions, and of course, a lot of the same technology in those two cars. So, all right, before we get going, if you're just tuning in because you want to see the content of this video, you can skip ahead to that 3-minute mark if you want. If you want to know how to join us, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. How to join us live, that is. I'll show you how to do that right now. And if you, we'll also talk news and notes. I don't know. All right, here we go. Let me just dig in. How to join us. Go to our YouTube page right here and refresh the page like this at exactly 2 o'clock, which is what we're doing right now. And I'm shocked that I made it at 2 o'clock. We had a bit of a busy rush here. All right, clicking into that in your live video, and you will be into our live video. You're gonna watch an ad, which I'm gonna just mute for a second here. There we go. And I'm gonna skip that ad. If you are looking to buy in Ontario and you wanna buy a car, if you wanna buy a car in Ontario, connect with me. There'll be a link in the description after this video. I will connect you with the 3 dealers that support us: Brantford Kia, Brantford Hyundai, and Owen Sound Hyundai. Those are 3 dealers that will treat you like family, and that's my ad. You should work with them, they're great. All right, real quickly, news and notes. I just want to tell you about what's going to happen in this video. This car, I apologize, is not clean. About 10 minutes ago, that was still covered in snow. We got a bunch of snow overnight, and I assumed this car was cleared and ready to go, and it was not. So it is dirty, and I do apologize for that. So over here, we have a detailed car ready to go, so that's good. But I do apologize for these cars not being clean. That is my fault, and yeah. I probably have pizza in my mouth here. I just finished having a little bit of lunch that showed up a little bit late, and we cleared snow this morning, so it's been a rush here for me. So I apologize if I'm a little bit less prepared than before. Somebody said, get the keys. They're both in the car right now. So we're gonna go get those in just 1 second here. Actually, you know what, we'll get them right now. Do me a favor, if you're a regular with us, forgive my, if you're not a regular, forgive me for being a little bit disorganized as we start this video, but we do try to start on time every day at 2 o'clock. And yeah, that's what's going on. So, here we go. Okay, we at 3-minute mark? Yes, we're at 3-minute mark right now. All right, those of you who skip ahead to the 3-minute mark, give me another 10 seconds here while I get the other key out of the car, and we will start. I did mention in the opening couple minutes here that the Kia Niro in this video is quite dirty. It was covered in snow till just a couple seconds ago, and I did my best with it. So here we go. We are gonna start fresh right now. All right, 2022 Kia Soul EV, Kia Niro EV. Now, these cars are both they're like family to me, in part because I own a Kia Soul EV. My parents bought a Kia Niro EV. So despite the fact that I work with these vehicles daily, they are vehicle choices that I made and I encourage my family to make. So these are vehicles that I feel like I know quite well. And my goal here is just to show you through them, show you the differences, but really specifically today, we're gonna talk about the differences between the two vehicles. And I'm gonna try to point those things out because in most cases, you're gonna have to be ordering these vehicles. And we're also gonna keep in mind that the EV6 and Ioniq 5 are out. Those are also videos that we're gonna have in this video bay here as well. And we're gonna compare some of the same things when we get into those cars as well. So, first thing people asked about is the key. And Kia Niro, nope, sorry, Kia Soul. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I was not expecting this. All right, Kia Soul EV, right here. It does not have a remote start button on the key fob. I thought it did, but this one does not. So that's a little interesting, not because they remote start so much, but they can remote climate. On the Kia Soul, you still have the option to do that from the key fob, or sorry, from the cell phone app, but I thought it had one on the key fob, and it doesn't. The Kia Niro, however, does. Now, is that the right? Yeah, Kia Niro does have the remote start on the key fob. Now, again, it's not remote start. What it is remote climate. So it just turns on your climate system the same reason you would turn on your remote start. But that key on the Niro, there is that difference there. Like I said, I thought the Soul had it this year. My Soul doesn't in 2020, but I thought it did, and I guess I was proven wrong. So I do apologize. I'll have to dig into that a little bit because that surprises me that it doesn't. Other than that, between these two cars, a lot is the same. Motor and battery is the same. So you're ending up with the same powertrain essentially in both the vehicles, 201 horsepower, 291 foot-pounds of torque. And I want to point out that 291 because that is more torque than you'll have in the lower trims of something like the EV6. So you do have more more torque. The other difference is the EV6 in the lower trims will be rear-wheel drive. Both of these are front-wheel drive. So a couple little differences here, a little bit more torque in these two models. The rated range of these is 385 kilometers and 383 kilometers. The new EV6 will start at 373 kilometers as the short range. Now the Soul you can get in a short range rated for 248 kilometers, and that's what I bought. But when we're talking rated range, at least in this generation of vehicle, it is completely common. In fact, it is not uncommon for 3 seasons of the year to see both of these vehicles in that 425 to 485 range. We have customers that can squeak out 500 plus kilometers out of these on a fairly regular basis in 3 seasons of the year. So the rated range on this generation of Kia electric vehicles is actually low in Canada. It actually exceeds it. And that's different than some other competitors where the rated range you sometimes struggle to get to. So something to keep in mind, obviously range is a little bit lower in the winter and we know about that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start inside the Niro, then come over to the Soul and talk about some differences in the interior because there are a number of them and we're gonna do some size comparisons as well. So we'll go through that. And like I mentioned, this car was completely covered in snow just a few minutes ago. So we did crank on the heat in here and you can see some snow dropped in here. It is what it is right now. All right, jumping into the Niro. You have a similar dash. Actually, we can fully start the car. I was going to turn it on. Similar dash in each one. Now, first things first, this one has a powered seat, so does the Soul, but this one has a memory seat. So the Niro has a memory power driver seat. Let me just turn the climate system off here for a second. All right, so memory power driver seat there, which you can see right there, driver 1, driver 2. The Soul does not have that. The Soul will have a heads-up display, which this one does not have. Now, remember we talked about, over 400 kilometers of rated range, 3 seasons of the year. This car thinks it's -4 because, like I said, it was just outside recently, but it is still reading, in this case, 412 kilometers of range. Now, let's be fair. You will not get 412 kilometers of range in the winter. It's guessing that we're inside. It's got 29 kilometers on this car, so it's going to guess a little bit inaccurate at this point. But the point is, you can go through some various menus here, and let's just see what they do, because they'll be a little bit different. The cars were inside and outside today. Oops, I hit the wrong button here. Let's go back. You can tap into this. It's at 94%. So when it's full, it should read around 439. Now, again, if you're going to run the heat, if you're going to drive in the cold weather, you're not going to get that. That 385 of rated range is still going to be a stretch. But staying over 300 kilometers, that's pretty common in the winter months with this car. And like I said, 425 to 485, very, very common in the summer months. So rated range, big thing to keep in mind. Obviously, using your heat will slow it down, take it away. But the reality is, you leave every day in your house with it plugged in, and that's where most people are charging. They're doing it from their house, and you have, for many people, quite the range that you need. How much deterioration can you expect in the range in the winter? So in the winter, this car, like I said, so my car's got 248 kilometers of rated range. It's the Kia Soul, 248. So let's call it 250. I get just over 300 in the summer. I stay over 200 in the winter, even with winter tires. So how much can depend on a billion factors. Like right now, let's just have some fun right now. Let's turn on the climate system. It went to 345. Now let's crank the heat, the fan. There we go. So we've just lost, what, 100 plus kilometers range, right? We didn't actually lose that much range. What it's doing is sensing that it's very cold in this car. And if you're going to run the fan speed, like I am at full blast right now, let's just put the climate system up on the screen here. So if you're gonna run at full blast right now and crank the heat here, you're gonna lose some range. We're down to 273 kilometers of range, right? Let's kick the climate system off. We get it all back. So remember, when you start cranking the heat, cranking the temperature, making demands on these cars, it will lower that range. But it's not going to, like, if 400 kilometers is like 4 hours of driving at highway speed, 200 and some odd kilometers is 2.5 hours of driving at highway speed. If you do that, the heat eventually is going to calm down because the interior of the car will warm up. So you know, sometimes those rated range numbers are skewed only by the heat being used, but sometimes they're skewed by real world things. So it's kind of hard to explain, but we could probably make a separate video for that. But just keep in mind your real world range will vary. Certainly around 300 or so kilometers in the winter is very reasonable in both of these cars. All right, let's talk about over here. We now have in the Niro, which is, you know, it's been in there for a little while, this 10.25-inch screen with the multiple driver modes, driver 1, driver 2, and guest. The reason that's important is not just to have your favorite radio stations saved here or favorite navigation things, but some of the vehicle settings can be changed, and you can just customize it for the driver, including some safety settings here. Coming down here, we've got the navigation in here, which we showed you. So actually, just go to the map for a second. If we hit the map there, like we just did, oh, hit it again. There we go. It'll come up to the map here, and you can see that we've got the nice, clear, big 10.25-inch screen. One thing that's nice is you can have on the EVs, 1/3 of your screen can be taken up with EV information, or you can cycle it through to the same information as all of our gas cars. So calendar, weather, radio station. Radio station is obviously the popular one to keep up there, but to be able to swipe down to see your EV information is also kind of helpful. And coming down here, automatic climate control, same system in both these cars. There's a driver only mode because again, when we crank that heat, crank that fan, the predicted range will come down. So you can save some of that range by only putting the fans and the heat on the driver area. Once the car is warmed up, that makes some sense. There is a wireless phone charging pad down in this area here. It is rubber coated and it has a little charging pad down there. There's a 12-volt socket here, 2 USB ports in there, and a large space down here. If you're the kind of person that carries a purse, that is a fairly large space that can carry, you know, a medium-sized purse. Coming down here, both these cars are going to have heated and ventilated seats, so I'm a big fan of the rump roasters. I should leave those on right now. That doesn't really affect range very much. So if you're very tight on range, you can use your seat heaters and your steering wheel heater and turn the temperature down just a couple extra degrees, turn that fan down a little slower, and that can squeak out some extra range. Just something to keep in mind. But again, for the most part, people who drive these cars understand what they are, and they don't worry about range at all, right? You're not doing 300 plus kilometers in a day on your average thing. On a road trip, yeah, then you got to keep that in mind. But for average people, average days, not a huge deal. So there we go. And electronic parking brake. These cup holders are pretty cool. Big open space here. They're going to put this in the new Sportage as well. You tap this button and it comes around like that. And I'm going to tap this button here and it's going to appear out of magic out of there. Watch it come. There we go. So that's your cup holders there. Pretty cool system there. If you don't want to have to look at those, you just cover it up here in that like that. So that's the basic outline. When we're talking about safety features, the Niro steps it up a little bit here. In the Niro, you have smart cruise control and lane follow assist. Now, you used to have lane keeping assist only. Now you have lane follow assist. I don't believe that is in the 2022 Kia Soul. We're going to go double check that. That would be new for me if it was. It wasn't in the previous Niro as well. So that just allows the car to steer for itself, essentially keeping it centered in the lane. You're still responsible for it, but the Niro does have that. So big advantage in the Niro, 2 more kilometers of range. What that means is slightly more aerodynamic efficiency, power driver's seat, and in this one, lane follow assist. Those are the big advantages in this one. We're going to jump into the Soul for a second before we take your questions, talk about a couple little differences. There's a lot of similarities, and even though this is going to be a half-an-hour video, I'm whipping through and skipping stuff because there's so much to show in these cars. And if you want to know more, of course, we'll do more videos on this again. So I was correct. In the Soul, we know that there is no more, there is no power drivers, or there is a power driver seat, excuse me. It's the same power driver seat controls, lumbar adjustment and power driver seat, but no memory seat in this one. Harman Kardon sound system on both of these cars, but no lane follow assist here. You do have lane keeping assist in both these cars, but no lane follow assist. What that means is pretty much one keeps you in the seat or in the lane, so it'll steer yourself back in the lane, and the second one centers yourself in the lane. So just a little bit more advanced on the Niro than on the Soul right now. Jumping in here, very similar dash in both these cars. Again, range, this one's not fully charged. So let's just take a peek at what this one would be if it was fully charged by scrolling across to our EV menu, or we could select the EV menu off the screen here. So if it was full, we're seeing, where are we? If it was full, 100% would be 465. So there you go, same type of thing. This one is, again, not going to get 465 in this weather, but you will get that 3 months of the year. 425 to 485 is very common. So again, rated for 383, but likely to see 425 or more. Very, very likely to see 425 or more 3 seasons of the year. And probably stay above that 300 kilometer mark in the winter, depending on how you drive and conditions and driving through snow and everything else. So when you see the battery discharge warning, what it's talking about is there's a 12-volt battery that controls this type of thing. and that is oh yeah, I can fully start the car. We'll fully start the car. That comes on when I have cars in the on but not started position. Now, of course, because it's an EV, I can fully start the car. We could drive it right here in the video bay. There are no emissions. Coming down in the Soul, another difference is it's the only car we have with this circular style controls here. Now, they're identical to almost every other car we have, but they are circular in style. And the same thing happens over here. This one does have the heads-up display, which is currently down. So we're going to raise it up. It is very difficult to film the display, but I'm going to do my best to try to get the information there as it comes alive. There we go. Yeah, I can't see it very well at all, can we? There we go. So it looks much larger in person, and I'm having a lot of trouble focusing on it. But there, you do have a heads-up display, and in that heads-up display, it is crystal clear in person, and it has a whole bunch more than just the speed. It has things like your blind spot detection. It has things like, you know, all sorts of other areas in there. Navigation information can be popped up there as well. So it is not displayed on the windshield, but it is a very good display up there. Over through here, it is essentially identical. No real changes here at all. You got the same basic thing. Both these cars have Sirius satellite radio. Both these cars have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay through a wired connection. Both these cars have single zone climate control here. Oops, turn it back on. So there's a climate control down there. Both of them have 2 USBs and a 12-volt port. This one's wireless phone charging pad is here. Different than the gasoline Soul. The gasoline Soul is like the Niro we just showed you with the phone charger up top and then a space down here where there's nothing. This one is only a phone charger down here. There's no phone charger up top. I don't know why. I don't have a good reason. Heated and ventilated seats down here as well. So 3 levels of heated, 3 levels of ventilated, which is the same as the Niro. Traditionally, the Soul, when it doesn't have the ventilated seats, only has 2 levels of heated seats. So in the Soul Premium, the one that I drive, they are cloth seats and they only have 2 seat heaters. No ventilation in my car. And that's because every other Soul only has 2 heated seats. So when you get to this limited version, you have the extra level of seats there. Gear shift is the exact same on both of them. You spin it this way for drive, spin it back over that way for reverse, put it in park there, and that's how it goes. We should show you the reverse here. One thing that Soul has is the Niro. You will have the same backup camera, but you also have the parking sensors front and rear that beep progressively quicker as you approach something on the front side and the back side. So on the Niro, you have a display screen where it can show you in the center or off to the sides of the front of the car. Maybe I should just show you that screen in the Niro. Keep in mind there are sensors with a visual display. So in addition to not being able to, if you see something here, you can also be warned. So we'll show you that in the Niro just in a second before we take your questions here. But yeah, essentially that's basically the same thing. Now, big difference is both these have sunroofs. Big difference is with the Soul, you are a little bit more square. I don't know that you're taller, but it's just a little bit more square. A lot of people, and a whole lot of people, love the seating position of the Soul. Not everybody loves the styling of the Soul, but we've sold the Soul to people who don't like the seating position or don't like the style because they like the seating position. It seems a little bit more square. There is certainly this feeling of airiness here. I could raise and lower the seats in both these cars, but the feeling of airiness by having this pillar, instead of curling up here, it's just a few inches further away in that corner, and you feel very spacious up here. So there is that. Is a satellite radio a paid subscription? Yes and no. It comes for 3 months with the car for free, and then there is a paid subscription after that. If you hang out for a couple emails after it cancels, you can usually get a pretty good deal. So I think I've got mine down to like $5 a month on my car. So what we're gonna do is I wanna show you that rear view camera in the Niro before we go. So let's just take one more look at the Soul here. Rear view camera here, memorize that, just the backup camera, nothing over here or whatever we want to be over here. So just the rear view camera. We're gonna go show you the Niro rear view camera. And then do me a favor, guys. Let's everybody hit the like button right now. We got 81 people on. There's no reason we can't hit 80 likes. I know that's a huge number for a Friday, but it is a Friday. Let's see if we can all hit the like button. I'm going to go show you the Niro backup camera. We'll take your questions, and then we're going to go rear seat and trunk space, which is where these cars start to differ a little bit more. So let's do that right now. And, oh, you guys really did jump on the like button. I appreciate that. 45 people already, so we'll see if we can get to 50 before I answer a question here. 46. All right. Jumping over here, let's just show you the backup camera just to show you the difference here. So when we take a look in here, turn the car to the on position. A lot of glare here I'm seeing today, just the way I'm parked here in the sunlight break area today. So if I throw the car into reverse, which I'll do right now, there is, oh, it's just a little too soon. There we go. Now the car's up. Now we'll throw it in reverse. And, oh, wait a second. It literally showed the other day. Oh boy. This car hasn't been through the shop yet. And, okay. Why is this not showing? Let's go to drive. Now let's go to reverse. it's supposed, there we go, that's what's coming up. So it just had to wait a second for the car to come live. This here is parking sensor. So let's just back up for a second. Gonna go nice and slow. You do have a little bit of a humming UFO alien type sound from the car, which is what it does when it drives at slow speeds. There we go. So it's sensing that the center of car is close to something. The car does curve around here, so that is actually kind of accurate. And this would go yellow and red as we approach something more. So you can see when you approach something. We'll go on the front side too. Now the front side doesn't have anything square, so we gotta be really careful over here. I gotta watch out the window so I don't crash into anything. There we go. Same thing over there. So it will go yellow and red as we approach that even closer. The one in the front is kind of nice because you can park up against up against curbs kind of nicely. So there is that difference there in the parking sensors. All right. Okay. All right, so let's jump into questions. I'm gonna do my best to take your questions. We need to go to rear seat and trunk space next. I wanna show you some lighting differences between these cars as well. Both of them have LED lights and they're both very good, but we'll talk about some of that differences in just 1 second. All right, someone says they're late today, had to shovel again. Yeah, I was almost late today too. Have a Soul, love the look. Most cars these days have all the same. Soul stands out. I love the Soul. I think the Soul is great. It stands out. And honestly, I think what Kia should do, and they should never take my advice because they'll probably go out of business. I think the first fully electric, affordable car on this new eGMP platform, like affordable as in like the EV6 is still an expensive car. I think the Soul should be that first affordable car. I just think it would be something that, you know, looks cool and, you know. All right, wish I knew about this channel before I ordered my Tucson. Well, you know about it now, and we'll hopefully help you with your ownership of your Tucson. Are they both electric? Yes, both these cars today are fully electric, no gasoline engines and anything. The blue lines are missing from the backup. I find mine helpful even though I mostly use the mirrors. Oh, there is blue lines in the backup if I turn the wheel. Blue line goes straight. The other thing to keep in mind is, I'll show you a little bit later, when you back up this car, the mirrors stay straight. When you back up that car, if you tilt your mirror adjustment left or right, the mirrors, the side mirror right there, it can tilt down to look at the lane marker. So just something that the Niro does have that the Soul doesn't have. A very, very minor feature which probably doesn't matter to many people, but there is a difference there. Someone says, I often come here just to press like. We need Peter to keep helping us with cards. I appreciate that, guys. Just have a couple likes extra, that helps. Where are we going here? I think we answered some of these questions before. Bought a Niro EX Premium, great little car in Atlanta, Georgia. Yep, so you're getting 306 miles. Can't quite get 311 or 500 kilometers. Like, yeah, so my dad gets 500 sometimes, and other people do as well. But yeah, like there's another example. Someone's getting 306 miles out of a Kia Niro EV. So these bigger numbers are possible. We're seeing that in these things. Are you aware of any changes to the 2023 Soul? I have no official information at all on anything 2023 of either Niro or Soul. Obviously, the Niro has been redesigned worldwide market, so when we have that car coming in, but it will be a while. Someone says, having a hard time locating one in my area. You will. These cars are hard to locate. If you're in Ontario, just connect with us. We'll get you one. So there we go. Is there a difference between push button and standard LX and A key? Oh, hold on. Somebody asked a question that I don't understand. Is there a difference between push button and standard LX? With a standard key. Oh, we're talking a regular Niro, gasoline Niro. Yeah, the regular Niro, gasoline Niro has a turn key, the LX, where everything else has a push button key. So you have to put the key into the ignition in that car. All right, let's go rear seat space to rear seat space, trunk space to trunk space, and then we'll come back and do a little more. One thing when we're talking about luggage, the Niro comes standard with a roof rack, a little bit hard to see in this shot. The Soul no longer comes with a roof rack on any trim line in Canada. So used to, but it doesn't anymore, and the EVs never had it anyways. All right, one thing I like about the Soul is it's very square. Now the only difference is with both the Soul and the Niro, compared to their gasoline counterparts, the floor is raised. The battery along there causes the floor to raise and a little tiny bit more battery underneath. And that means that it's not quite as comfortable as the gasoline Soul. So when you get to a salesperson, they say, oh yeah, it's the exact same sitting inside. It is not. The Soul is very comfortable back here, but that raised floor means that my legs are just a little bit more off the seat. Now I can set them aside there, but the floor is higher in both of these cars. So if a salesperson tells you same thing in the back, same thing in the front, or very similar, that's one key difference. It's still extremely comfortable back here. Headroom is immense back here in the Soul, and that's what the Soul does really, really well. It is a very comfortable back seat. It is large SUV style, like size seating back here. And again, knee room with sitting behind myself. I didn't adjust these seats perfectly, but the Soul is known for great rear seat space, and the EV is no different. Both of these cars have 2 levels of seat heating in the rear, and that's seat bottom only. So you can see right over here, seat heating on the Soul. We're going to jump over to the Niro now and do the same thing in the rear seat there. So the seat is roughly adjusted to where I am, and it's the same situation here. Compared to the hybrid Niro, the floor is a little higher. Oh, one thing that's different right now, because this seat is set to comfort access, which means when you turn the car off, the seat moves back to give the driver a little bit more space. It's further back than it would have been if I was there. It does have a little bit more legroom here. There's a little bit more length, but it is very similar to the Soul. Headroom is a little bit less. So if you're very tall or have very tall passengers, the Soul is going to give you a little bit more. It's still very good here for the class of car. And again, legroom, very similar angle, maybe a little bit further up here. I don't know. Might just be to the angle of the seat because I can put my feet a little forward if we move the seat back to where it was. So again, it's about an inch or two forward to give me the proper knee room here. Back here, like I mentioned, there's a pocket on both sides of the Niro here, vents in both, and the regular 115 volt plug right there. And again, pocket on the driver's side and passenger side. Armrests in the center as well, which have cup holders and 2 levels of seat heating. Again, seat bottom only on the outside seats. The Soul is suffering with separation anxiety. Yeah, exactly. It's beeping because I left it on and left with the key. All right, here's, oops, I should have been filming this way. Here is the Niro. Again, this is the top line SX Touring model, and this is the Kia Soul top line trim as well. Do you see any differences? Well, this is different. This is a folding cover here, and it can be popped up like that on the, but it's more of a firm cover or semi-rigid cover right there, and that is the way the Soul works. The Niro has a cargo blind style cover. Now, this cargo blind style cover has one little feature that is kind of nice in the Niro EV, and that is you can lift this floor right here and you can hide it underneath there. So you can just sort of pull that panel off. It sits in there. You sort of slide it in like this and then into there, and it can sit under the floor. So when you're out and you've got the seats folded down, what you can do is throw the cargo cover down here so you've got all that there and the cargo cover stays in the vehicle. The Niro has a speaker on the left side. Soul has 2 speakers on the right side of the trunk. And underneath here, you have a little bit of underfloor storage, and that's about it, but the floor does not lower there. Over here on the Soul, you have this hard cover, which doesn't really have a place to go, although you could throw this under the seat, under the floor. What I would do with the floor is, if you look underneath here, there's a lot of space down there. We're gonna just take this level 1 charger, which it does come standard with the car, and push it down like that. And what we're gonna do is do our little trick here and drop the Soul floor a lot. So again, when it's up in the higher position, if you fold the seats flat, you kind of have a floor running right across to the seats. When you put it to the lower position, well, now you make enough space for my teddy bear. Teddy bear is my trunk measurement tool. He is more popular than I am on this channel if you're just joining us for the very first time. And the reason we like this lowering floor, so there's your 2 speakers there on the Soul, just so we show you. The reason we like that lowering floor is because Teddy Bear likes to have a little room for his belly, and he's got a lot of room for his belly. His belly would basically be touching that cargo cover if he didn't lower the floor there. So the Soul, not quite as long as the Niro you're gonna see, but it is fairly deep, and you do have a lot of storage space back there. Definitely a longer floor in the Niro. So we'll pull him out here and put Teddy Bear in. Now I say definitely longer. It's not a ton, but it is longer. So there's the Soul there. The Niro, again, probably a little bit more, like he was squished in a little bit like that in the Soul. So you have probably about that much more space there. Again, still a good sized trunk in the Niro. If you fold the seats down, the Niro is larger for sure. Both these have fairly square openings, but there are slight differences there. So teddy bear test, you can see for yourself and decide which one you like better. I really quite like the Soul with the lowering floor. Obviously this can still hide your teddy bear, but you can see when I do that, teddy bear's tummy is just pressed against there, and he's getting a little self-conscious there because nobody wants that cargo cover hiding against your belly. So that's how Teddy works in there. Let's go lighting for a second. And while we're here, we were gonna go for 80 likes today. So that means 19 people have to leave us a like. Now there's only 78 people on right now, but I guarantee you there'll be about 400 or 500 people that jump in and out of this video. So do me a favor, if you haven't hit the like button, it's Friday. Maybe I didn't earn it yet today, but leave me a like anyways. Let's see if we can get to 80, 81 likes, maybe something like that. That'd be cool. All right, let's turn these cars on again, turn this car on again. And you'll watch here, I don't know if I can show you, but let's see if I can show you here. Let's do this. All right, so here's the seat here. So kind of look where we are, that kind of lines right there. I'm gonna start the car right now, and you're gonna see the seat moving forward. So it's moving quite a bit forward, and that gives us more legroom. So again, that is a setting that we can change, which is the comfort access setting, which allows the seat to move back and forward. That's why I had less legroom in this vehicle, but it's still pretty good. We talked about the BlueLink app. BlueLink is Hyundai. We talked about the Uvo Intelligence app. We've got the buttons right there, and then we still have garage door openers here. You don't have garage door openers in the Soul, I don't believe, but let's double check. Let's get my headlights and fog lights on in this car. All right, let's just check on the Soul here. On the mirror, yes, you do not have the garage door openers in the Soul. You do have them in, these are just the Uvo Intelligence buttons. Come on, focus camera. We're having some trouble, but you don't have that there. So, headlights to the on position, fog lights on, left side signal. We'll do left side signal over here on the Niro as well. Again, I do apologize for the Niro being so dirty. It was just covered in snow. Okay, jumping over here to the Niro first. One thing that they do with the Niro that I just don't understand, it's just a silly thing. It's not gonna matter, but you can see the yellow, and this is very white on camera. It the color doesn't represent properly with these LED lights. Those are halogen lights. So what's weird about the Niro, and I don't know why they do this, and they've never really changed it, is your daytime running lights are these nice bright white. They don't look white on camera, but they're bright white, sort of, chevron style look there. And then you have these bright LED projector beam headlights, which are excellent, like that. And then you have nice projector beam lights, but they are halogen. And they're very good, but it's just weird to have two different color lights in front of the same car. And I don't know why they do that. They haven't updated that yet, and it is what it is. So a little bit different. The Soul is a little different here. Oh, I should show you the signal lights as well. Signal lights are, of course, LED. Nice amber lights there. Very good job. And again, if you see the flickering lights, that's just the way it interacts with the camera. Over here, a little different again. Daytime running lights, just this thin line down here, which is very, very bright in person. The camera doesn't pick that up, but it does make the car stand out a little bit. LED fog lights down here, and then your signal lights there. So let's just take a look here again. Blazingly bright and blazingly bright. So very good, nice sharp cutoff. And again, I don't think there's an advantage to either one. I will say that this one has these headlights. Again, this is bright white in person. It's just the camera doesn't really know how to adapt. This is probably about an inch or so of, can I do this? Yeah, sort of an inch or so, that much space for the brightness to like the sharp cutoff line, whereas the projector beam headlights have a little bit sharper cutoff line, maybe a finger width there is all. So slight little improvement on the overall headlights, but very, very similar. Like, you have to be a Kia nerd like me to tell any difference. Basically, you're gonna find the headlights in both these cars to be excellent. Again, in person, this is a very bright white, and then in the Soul, this is a little bit different color white, but it's the same. On camera, this looks yellowy. It's not at all yellowy in person. Both these vehicles have signal in the mirrors there, just like this, and out back. The higher end Soul just has much nicer looking lights than the lower end Souls, and this is a higher end Soul. So LED lights in the perimeter, standard signals in both these cars, amber signals on the Soul, and red signals on the Niro. So the Niro is kind of cool because in addition to having your brake lights fill in this area here, the actual perimeter also light up brighter, whereas the Soul, I'm 95% sure, just the center lights up. Very good lighting on both these cars, kind of distinctive, stands out, and does a good job. So we're at 72 likes. We got 81 people on. The math is there for everybody to just jump in. We're trying to go for 8 more likes. So if you have a like to give, I will answer some questions now, and hopefully we can get to 80. It's a big number on a Friday with 2 cars that are a limited market for EV people, but we're gonna do our best here. Okay, is there an inflation kit and repair kit for the flat tire? Yes, that's how they come. They don't have spare tires in these cars. I don't know why, but that's what they do. And the inflator kit is there as well, so they have that. Okay. Somebody says they're glad that's catching on, the separation anxiety. The hydrogen lights on the fog lights so they can melt the snow. Yeah, the halogen lights, supposedly the halogen lights can melt some more snow. I don't really have a lot of issue with snow buildup, especially on the Niro. The Soul has a little bit more of a shelf in front, so you do have to clear these lights a little bit if there's snowfall on them. Yes, halogen lights heat up more, but the fog lights are not enough to be your headlights. So yeah, there's no real reason for it. I think the issue is that the car didn't originally come with LED lights, and for whatever reason they didn't change the wiring in there. It just seems like something that could have changed. So somebody says the halogen lights will melt better, and that's true. They are a little bit warmer than the LED lights, but I don't know. I don't think that's good. Any news regarding the new Niro range and battery size? No. So the new Niro EV, which is what we'll call it here on in Canada, I don't have any official information on that yet. Obviously, I've heard a lot of what you guys have heard, but I like to stick to, in these videos, going with official information just so that there's no confusion later on. And I make some mistakes sometimes when that happens. So, all right, what else we got here? Heated windshield, yes. So on the Kia Soul 2020 EV, on the premium, so the entry level, only on the 1 year and only on the entry level, we had a tungsten element in the windshield, which was heated. Now, the downfall of that is it's more expensive to replace the windshield. The pro in that is you can defrost the entire windshield. You never have to scrape the windshield, or you can wipe it, but it never have that ice that really gets stuck to it. One of our regulars is telling us that Kia should be doing that in more vehicles. They do it in the K5. It has it in most of the Carnivals as well. They used to have it in the gasoline Souls, some of the gasoline Souls, but they removed that after the 2020 model year as well. So they are doing it, but I think it's the pro and the con. Again, if you crack that windshield, it's more expensive to replace. However, for those of us here in the winter, it's pretty amazing to not have to scrape the windows. So a little advocate for let's put it in every car. I'm with you on that. If you have a family, which one would be the best buy? Well, I do have a family, and I bought the Soul. Now, again, if you have a family of more than 5 people, these cars are out. If you have a family of 4 people, I think both these cars are perfect. I bought the Soul. I like the Soul. I happened to get the Soul because the short-range version of the Soul has more technology than the lower-priced version of this. Now, the lower-priced version of the Niro has more range. I didn't need range, and I know that sounds crazy. If you think about range, think about how you're using your vehicle. If it's like $10,000 worth of extra battery, but you're 99.9% of the time never going to use it, and the one time you do need it, you just stop at a fast charger. So I voted for the lower version of this with less range because 99.9% of my driving is within 200 kilometers, and we can do it in this car. This one, of course, has more range, and you spend a little bit more money. So can it work for a family? Absolutely. That one might be a little better with the roof racks because you can take more gear on the roof if you wanted to, if you're going a longer trip. Both of these can fast charge in just over an hour or so at a fast charging station. The newest EV6 is going to have fast charging than these cars. But I think, and like, this is what mine did. For us, we bought this car, and I still have a second gasoline vehicle. And that's really the sweet spot. It's an expensive second vehicle. Let's not kid yourself. And maybe it's a primary, for a lot of people, it's a primary vehicle. For my parents, that exact car is their primary vehicle. The short-range version of the Soul, though, as our secondary vehicle, was a really good buy because that means that we bought it as our secondary vehicle, but it's very quickly become our primary vehicle. If we have to go anywhere within a couple hundred kilometers, we don't charge, and we have comfortable seating for 4, and yeah, it's no fuel, like the fuel cost you don't even think about because it's so cheap on electricity. So will they work for families? Absolutely. And I would buy one and keep it for years because I did. Either one is good. The EV6 is going to be the one in the Kia lineup for sure that really changes the game. For a lot of people, that's a gasoline replacement car. It's rated for as much as 499 kilometers, and if it's anything like these, you might see far more than that. So if it's rated similar process, I will probably be able to squeak 600 kilometers out of a car like that if it's rated the same way with the same sort of proportion of stuff. So that's when you're talking real long range. And then, of course, it has fast charging, which the fast charging isn't everywhere, but when you have 500 kilometers, a lot of the petrol can stations across the country, from Halifax to Vancouver, maybe even to Victoria, they have the capable fast chargers that are capable, in theory, of charging the EV6 in as little as 18 minutes from 0 to 80%, or 100 kilometers in 5 minutes. That's kind of crazy. These cars don't have that yet, but those are real gasoline replacement cars. For many people, these are gasoline replacement cars. My parents have gone to Florida in this car. You just have to stop and charge. It takes them a little bit longer than it would with a gas car. But if you're the kind of person that's not regularly doing more than 250 kilometers and just the odd time, you can always stop and fast charge these. But 200-300 kilometer drives, that's just a perfect car. So for my family, it's been perfect. Anyways, I've gone way overtime here. We're at 39 minutes. You hit 85 likes. It's a Friday. I want to thank you guys for joining us. I am off Monday. Ontario, where we film here, has a holiday on Monday. It's called Family Day, and that's what I'll be doing. I'll be spending time with my family. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. We are expecting Ioniq 5 Ultimate. So that's the all-wheel drive, top-of-the-line trim. We're expecting that very soon, as early as next week. EV6 could be as early as next week as well. And that'll be the same thing, top trim, top line. So Feel free to like this video. Feel free to subscribe to the video if you want to see more about EVs. We're going to be a lot of EVs coming up soon. And yeah, let's just leave it there. Thanks everyone for joining us. It's been fun, and we'll talk to you again in the next one.